A few years ago, I got extremely interested in Brazil's nuclear policy, and the reasons for that were Brazil, as an emerging power, was getting really active on the global nuclear scene. Historically, Brazil has been very active in global nuclear diplomacy. But together with other factors, for example, Brazil's nuclear industry was getting stronger. Brazil has an advanced nuclear fuel cycle. And of course, for us, people working in the nuclear field, it's very interesting to observe Brazil's program to develop a nuclear powered submarine. So, that interest, it only got deeper with every year, and last year I published a study that looks specifically at Brazil's nuclear policy. And while researching for that study, I've realized that the way Brazilians view nuclear issues are very different from the way my colleagues in the United States or the representatives of the US government view nuclear issues. And that's how I got an idea for the research project that I'm doing right here at FGV, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do it here. So the current project that I'm working on looks specifically at the differences and some similarities between Brazil and the United States in their perceptions, in their views, in their behavior in the nuclear field. And it's been really interesting to be here on the ground, to have a chance to talk to experts, to government officials, to diplomats, and to just learn from them how they view matters that are important for the global nuclear politics. Similarly, before coming to Brazil, I also conducted interviews in the US, and in this way, I'm just trying to have a good comparative study. Why it's important? Well, I think that in order to understand how to bridge gaps that exist in perceptions between two countries, in order to understand where there are areas ripe for cooperation in the nuclear field, it's very important to start from the foundation, from the baseline, and to understand where do these countries come from, what are the differences in views, and why these views are different, and how can we make both of them understand each other a little bit better. So the project is can be classified both as a modern history project, because I'm looking at the period of the last decade, but also as a policy relevant research, because I hope to come up with policy recommendations for both countries. To give you an example of one of the several case studies that I'll be exploring is the case of the Tehran Declaration. In 2010, Brazil, together with Turkey, negotiated an agreement with Iran with the hope that this agreement will break the stalemate that existed between the West and Iran on Iran's nuclear program. Unfortunately, things didn't work very well, because the established powers, the United States and some others, they didn't welcome this initiative of Brazil and Turkey. And I think that's a very good and worthy example for exploration why there was no mutual understanding between different parties involved, and why did Brazil decide to become more active at that point in its history and in its diplomacy, and why this gesture wasn't welcome by the United States. And so I'll be looking at the explanations that are provided by both countries and trying to compare them and trying to create a narrative that weaves together the explanations that are coming from both countries.